Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
You're working on.
We're working on a custom interior door. The ground is concrete, and it's about an 8-foot high door. It's actually the thickness more of a bookshelf. It's like a foot thick, but it's made of plywood. It's like a bookshelf pretty much. It's like part of a wall, of a bookshelf wall, and it's going to be on a pivot hinge. So it's not super heavy, but it's a little bit heavy. The pivot point will be at the center of like a 12-inch thickness of that door, and seeing what you carry as options to put it on one.
I carry pivots for engineered weight ratings as you deem necessary. 200 pound, 500 pound, 600 pound, 1,000 pound. So that's
it's definitely not more than 500 pounds. I would assume it's more along the lines of 200 pounds, but
yeah,
maybe something
the one everyone uses is the 0370, the 0370, which we stock. It's rated for 500 pounds. You'll see it all the time used. I can't say it's the best or appropriate for your application, but it's what everyone uses.
And what company makes that?
ABH. So in my site, if you simply search 0370, it comes right up. I can email you a link to it if you want.
Okay. And then what do you think could be most appropriate for this application?
Well, if it was me, I would want a pivot that would have a larger bottom arm so I could spread out the surface area of carrying the load above is what I would personally want. I would want and that translates to a heavier rating on a pivot.
Yeah.
It also translates from going from $260 to triple that cost or more. So, it's going to stay really light, and the bottom is going to be made of, actual wood. I think you're in good. I think, which is what people use.
And does that have the options of any self-closing features?
Well, sure. Yeah, you can, rather than do a pivot, do a floor closer.
Sorry, but it's not a pivot one?
Well, if you want it to be self-closing, it won't be a pivot anymore. A pivot I mentioned was 0370.
Right, but we can't really do a hinge because of the design of the because it's a foot deep. I've never seen a hinge door done on something like that.
It's all where you drop the vertical axis of pivoting. I mean, if the vertical axis of pivoting is standing proud of the face of the cabinet, it doesn't matter if it's 100 foot, thick. In terms of that, what you really have to think about, and if you're an architect, I imagine reasonably familiar with AutoCAD, I would definitely be drawing some basic polylines and rotating around a point is what I would be doing. Meaning, you sell this to someone, I offer that service. I usually don't sell them to architects who just do it themselves.
Right. But, what was that word term you said? Floor closer?
A floor closer. So if you've got a big, giant closer body that's been sunk into the floor, it's a principle not unlike pivots. It's a principle actually not unlike hinges either. But you can self-close that.
But that's got to be set into the ground.
Definitely. A floor closer is. Alternatively, you can do overhead concealed closers to make that. But you've got to find somewhere to fit the hydraulic mechanism into to make all that work.
Right, you got to hide all that.
Got to hide all of it.
But a floor closer, the bottom portion of this shelf has a more solid portion to it, and the shelves start a little further up. So wouldn't the floor closer mechanism be all within the door, the door that's pivoting, not set within the ground, right? It's within the door.
False. Floor closers
that
have
what you're
to go on
saying?
the floor.
It does. Okay, I guess I've never worked in floor closer, only a top closing. Do you have a model just that I can look at so I better understand what's going on?
There's countless. Do Dorma BTS, Bravo, Tango Sierra. Their part number BTS 80. Rixson is the Coca-Cola of the pop world. Everyone's going to know Rixson and think floor closer. So Rixson. All the Apple stores have Dorma BTS 80s on them. The City Hall has Rixsons in the floor. Just, whatever.
Okay, and what's the model number on the Rixson?
It depends on what you're doing, but a 30 or a 40 or a 27 or a 28. When you pull up their catalog and you get the floor closer, both of their catalogs are pretty easy. Sense of, I see it. And when you spend, how many tens of thousands of cut sheets have you looked at in your career? So same approach.
Okay, so Dorma. And then just with the pivot hardware, I have a second one that you suggest besides the ABH, just to take a look at the Kingdom House, or that's really the one?
It's variations on a theme. When you're in the Rixson catalog, you'll find pivots. When you're in the Dorma catalog, you'll find pivots. It's literally variations on a theme.
Okay, and then the ABH, how does that compare quality-wise versus Rixson and Dorma?
In our industry, we are advocating on the owner's behalf. The ABH is the best suited piece of hardware for the installation when you're going to use an equal by Dorma or ABH, because it's equal in every physical regard. It's simply less expensive.
Okay. Yep, good to know. Okay, I got that. So, things I could search on your website, or would I search them separately on their own website and order it for you?
Everything I've mentioned is on my website.
On your website, okay. Okay, I'll take a look at this. So you don't know. Someone directed me toward a Fitzgerald pivot hardware. Have you ever heard of Fitzgerald?
Yeah, of course. I sell that material too. I am not convinced that it is worth the exceptional amount of money they cost. And I'm not even remotely convinced that I know that it will not work out of the box for a bookcase. I'm not sure if you want to change your design to accommodate it.
Why wouldn't it work?
Because the Fitzgeralds, the M54s, they install into the bottom rail of the door. So how are you going to incorporate a 4, 5, 6 inch, 5 inch tall cutout in the bottom of your bookcase? You got to create a wooden pocket for that to sit in. Then the question becomes I am not familiar with their top pivot. I don't know if you'll be able to get the bookcase in and attached to the ground such a way that will work with a bookcase application.
I'm able to hide that 6 inches because I've got my actual shelves start, more like 42 inches, and I've got space at the bottom to build something in like that.
Yeah, if you want to use the new hotness, I'm all for it. I am just not convinced that they build a better wagon wheel.
Yeah, the only reason I was looking at, they have the M series. The only reason I was looking at that one was because it has a self-closing feature.
Yeah, also double the cost of a Rixson floor closer or a BTS 80.
Do you call that a floor closer, not a pivot hinge?
I would definitely not use the term pivot hinge for anything that self-closes. It's not a hanging device. It becomes a door control. So it's a different category in our HI, steps of detailing a hardware set.
I got it. And so, but then someone like Apple who's using they must have self-closing exterior doors, so they must be using the top closer with self-closing as well?
No, they're using the Dorma BTS 80s, the floor closers. And the pivot at the top, all it's doing is making sure the door stays true plumb level and square. That's all it's doing. It's a pin.
Oh, okay. So that's a cut into the concrete beyond I was imagining I would just be cutting a pivot point at the bottom, but all of the door closers, I have to sink something into the floor.
If it's a floor closer, you do, yes. That fits
I do.
Jurgens, you wouldn't. You would hide that in the bottom of your bookcase structure.
Right. Okay. So that's the advantage of that is that's the only model.
The question really becomes with it is how are you going to screw it to the floor?
I got to look at the hardware. Well, I mean, I guess you could, but in terms of the you'd have to have some sort of I've never done this before. Some sort of anchor type bolt or something that you screw into the concrete.
Yeah, the question becomes is how do you get to it?
Yeah, how do you get to that bolt?
But how do you put your hands on the head of the bolt when you've got your mounting plate on the floor? So you'd have to pull up the template and you'd have to pull up the instructions. And when I ask these questions, I don't know the answer. Meaning, you'll have to study that.
No, but this is. I've got a wide variety. All of these options I can order through you, though.
You certainly can. I do the M54s from Fitzjurgens. I don't sell a ton of them.
On the website, it just calls it the M series. The M54 is a specific model. I haven't looked at it.
I think so. It's an M series. I don't have their part numbers memorized.
Okay. Is this stuff that's stocked? How long does it take?
It would depend, but door closers are in stock. Pivots are in stock. Fitzjurgens is probably in stock as well. So there's no gotchas that I can think of. Okay.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate your help, Rich. I'll get back to you once I look at all this.
Awesome, sir. Thanks for calling.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.